Welcome back. In this last video for the construction of the simple parametric brick wall, I'm going to go through some techniques and how you can document or audit the routine to make it easier for other people to follow, and also to sort of clean it up. Now, this is a fairly simple routine. There are other routines out there which are gargantuan and just a sort of a mess of cables and connectors, and it makes it very difficult for someone to just jump in and understand what's going on. What I'd like to do is just to sort of group the input parameters that kind of make sense together. Okay. Now, there's a set of parameters running off the side through here that, as we know, are here to reduce they're like a scaling element to make sure that the bricks actually come through properly. But sitting here quite random, it's really not too sure what function they serve. Now, what we can do is we can group these. So if we highlight them all, go edit, group, and if we click the, we can click the if we keep clicking the envelope around it, it sort of changes the format of the envelope. Now, we can actually give that a name. So if we click on here, right click, and at the top of that contextual menu we can write scaling of brick for correct representation. That may not be the most obvious descriptor, but that's the best I'm going to do at this stage. So we can then also start to get these into a bit more of a neater arrangement. So if we also start to align things so that we can start to see what the logic is of the things as we move forward. So what I kind of like to do is to make sure that the similar items are co-located more or less on top of each other, so that there's a logic. So we can see that these elements here are a common element. This here is a common element. These are common elements as well. Okay, so just by simply arranging it on the page, you can make it look a little bit neater. Squish these up a little bit more. So if we remember what these first elements here were, so I'm going to group those, and I'm going to call this, remember that was the duplication of the first set out rail for the odd courses. Okay. And then if we pick it up in the group, it picks up everything together. Now, if we remember through here what these elements were, we can start to see what they come from. So A plus B, so if we click on that, we can see that that's going back to the horizontal mortar, and that's going back to the brick height. So this here is the course height, so one course to another, and then that's the doubling of it. So altogether, if we group those, Okay, and if we select that, this is the distance between odd courses through there. And I'll try and do the same with this. Edit group. Distance between even courses. And then we can move that through there. So I might just give ourselves a bit of space here and there. So that's even numbered courses. I'll pop this one down. Odd number courses. Okay. So if we go back to here, this I guess is the next tricky one. So we can pop this one here, and if we remember what this one was for, so if we go back, that there was the divider, so that the number of courses actually corresponds to that number, because we've got a standard number of courses, because we're doubling them, we're doubling the courses, and so through that we're doing a divider. So we can, in fact, through here, we'll group those, edit group, right click, adjustment number of courses. Okay. So these elements through here, and again they're both the same. This was, remember, then the duplication of a series of courses moving up through there. So if we edit, group those, again that's the duplication in series of odd courses. And if we group those, edit, group, oops, daisy, of even courses. Okay. So we can start to see sort of logic chunks in here, and the arrangement on the screen starts to make it a little clearer. Now I can just quickly try and punch through this. So this one here, we can go Control G, and this is doubling number of set out planes. Control G for group, and we can go so this is the division of set out rail odd courses. Sorry, division of set out rail and planes. odd courses. We can group that one, same. Even courses. And then we'll just group this by itself, so we can just say representation of brick. Now, there's a few tricky things that we can do if we start to get a ton of cables and so on going all over the place. I'm sure that if we played around with this we can neaten it up even further. But you can see through here the scaling of the brick for the correct representation. Again, might not be ideal the way I've described it, but there's these snaking lines all the way across. Now we can actually change the way that those wires appear, and if we right click on there we can go to wire display and we can go hidden, and it kind of turns into a little kind of almost like a Wi-Fi looking now it cleans up the palette a lot, but if you click on that you can then see the connections on it. But sometimes when you're reverse engineering someone else's routine and they've got these hidden wires, if you connect on there you can actually see where they go to. Now, last thing, so we can make it very clear with this, and we can group this and go Control G to group, and move that across, and we'll call this the brick rotation tool. Now we can even neaten this up a little further by clustering them. So if we cluster it, we can then bring everything into one thing. Now, in some instances, the clustering works if it's a tool without too much parametric input. But in this instance, because we've got a slider, the only way we can edit this is if we double click on it to actually do the slider through here. So it's not really an ideal way of doing this. So we might actually undo that, Control Z, and keep it so it's on display, because we want to be able to see what happens through there. But for some tools, we can cluster them down and we can start to reuse them. So you can also add a panel and then use the panel as to describe how the routine works. To add a little bit of text in here so that you can explain how this whole routine works, and it makes it much easier for other people to take on your tool and for them to reverse engineer it and make improvements to it. So that ends the short sequence on building the parametric wall. Hope you found it useful, and any suggestions or additions to this, more than welcome to take your advice. Thanks.